First of all, thank you very much for this film. The Keeper. It is an astonishing, impactful watch. I guess let's start with how this story came to you and why you decided to tell this story.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that. Well, I just discovered this script through it was through Inktip, which is like an online portal for screenwriters who can submit scripts for producers to pick up. So it's a great service, and I've been very fortunate to find some great writers who have been on that platform. And yeah, and so I just found this script, and then I was surprised that no one had already made it, and it was such a powerful story. And and then I reached out to Todd, the writer, and then we just started from there. And then we started discussing how we were going to do it, and we connected with George and who the story is based on, of course. And it took a while, maybe I lost track, maybe a year or so of doing that, and then we all sort of got together and met each other in person in LA, and we all connected really well, and then we just continued on, and 6 months of prepping, and away we went into the Appalachian Trail. But yeah, so basically, it was just very fortunate to find it just out there, and Todd had been trying to get the project off the ground for a while. So it was a real blessing to come across this story.
Definitely. And in preparing to play this role, he's such a I guess he's a bit of a tragic character, but still he's very inspiring. How do you prepare for a role like that? Because he is a real person, and you have to be honest with the character you're playing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, I didn't want to play a caricature of somebody, or do an impersonation, and obviously I don't. I'm Australian, so I have to, speak in an American accent, and so that's one step that you have to do, and then George has a particular cadence and dialect to his accent. So instead of kind of copying it, I just listened to him talk and found a sort of sweet spot. So I could kind of play the character as best as I could whilst honoring him without trying to sort of mimic and be, because I could never be exactly like him anyway. So I found this kind of little, a sort of a sweet spot where certain ways I would pronounce words and the cadence and stuff, and that seemed to be good, and everyone seemed to respond to that, and he seemed to be happy with that. So that there was that sort of technical side of things, and then beyond that, really, I think one thing I just found, like, obviously, I hadn't been to war, I wasn't in the military or anything like that, because I'm clearly not as strong as those guys, or as brave, but one thing I could relate to is the issues of PTSD and mental health issues and anxieties and all those sort of things. And when George and I met, that's kind of where we started talking about those issues, and we kind of connected straight away. And I find, like, I can kind of connect with a lot of military vets and stuff. I feel like, I think because I get, not that I've been where they're gone, been where they have been, but I understand what it is to go through those issues. So from and so yeah, and I think, my life experience up until that point was just what I could just tap into, because I know what it's like to go through these things, and to lose loved ones and everything else like that, and I find, like, in my acting preparation, I'm not like a theoretical kind of person who's like studying, and because I know some actors prepare in that way. I'm more of a kind of an emotional connection to preparer. So it's like, how do I connect what this person, this real character, or the fictitious character, whatever the situation is, how does that connect to me as a person and what I've gone through emotionally? Because that way it will sort of flow through. And then when you're actually out there on the actual Appalachian Trail, it's not in front of a green screen or anything else like that. You're actually where George went, and George was with us the whole time. Um, then that makes it kind of it's less of a challenge, because you're already in it, you're already going through it, You've got the real pack that he carried. You've got the real name tapes. Everything's kind of already there for you, so you don't really have to act. I guess you just be in the moment, and I found that was really powerful. I think if I was trying to replicate it on the green screen or something, it'd be a bit trickier. But so yeah, but so yeah, that's kind of really preparation is just connecting my life with this life and the pain that I've gone through and really just releasing it, which is a beautiful thing about acting and a lot of art forms is that you can release that pressure cooker of life, and that's a beautiful thing to be able to do. And yeah, and I definitely felt like there was a lot of emotions that sort of started to come through the journey. We were kind of going in a kind of linear fashion because we did start in Maine and went to Georgia, which is the way George did it. We went to all the places he went. He was with us. So, he started off not knowing what he was doing when he was a hiker, and I just like I did, So, and then I let the process instead of trying to hike the Appalachian Trail in preparation because I wouldn't have time, and I don't know if I could do it anyway. But it was just we're literally in real time in a way, going through that process of learning. Oh, this is what hiking is, and then getting better and getting more into it. Although it's not really about the hiking side of things, but all that sort of linear timeline really helped too. That was a really very beneficial thing because it's hard with films. Most of the times they cut them up; they're all over the place, and you're doing the end at the beginning and whatever. So this was fairly linear process. So that certainly helped as well.
Definitely. And I guess this next question should come with a trigger warning because it goes into a deeper subject of suicide. Why was this such an important topic to cover? And thank you very much for covering it in a very sensitive manner, in the way you did. Why was suicide important for this
Yeah,
story?
I mean, obviously, with the statistics with veterans, it's around about 22 a day who are taking their lives, and that's every single day. And George also has struggled in that area, and it's something that it's kind of close to my heart. I know what that feeling can be like when you feel like there's no hope. You can get to these places, which I know a lot of us can get, um, and it is really about like continuing on, taking one step at a time, and keep going. And George talks about how he deals with it, like reaching out to some friends and fellow veterans who he can relate to. Relatability is really important. But yeah, obviously this is such a powerful, powerful topic, and it's not just with veterans, of course. And this film isn't just for veterans. I mean, anyone who's suffering from feeling like they suicide and wanting to sort of, well, just that sheer despair. I mean, the whole idea was with this film, we really hoped that people could just watch it, and it's almost like a meditative kind of process. It's not like a whole lot of action. It's not a whole lot of drama. It's very sort of like a poetic sort of that sort of tone to it. So it's very melodic and stuff, so that you could watch it, and you could watch it every night if you wanted, and just to kind of give you that hope to keep going. Um, and it does deal with the realities and of people who have gone, and when you see that impact on everyone else's lives around them and stuff, it's yeah, that's what we really hope that this film can kind of just help those who are struggling. I mean, it's like, and it's a sort of a step that may, like one step in a better health direction, so you can reach out. It's hard. It's hard for. I mean, I know with veterans, military veterans, it's or even active duty veterans, military servicemen and women. It's hard to reach out to ask for help because you train not to. You train to be a warrior, and the last thing is, hey, help! I'm having a bad day. So this whole film is to show that vulnerability as well, and so it's okay. You can reach out. You don't have to try to be tough and just tough it out. And so I think it's particularly difficult. I mean, I know it's difficult with men as well because as men we want to be strong. We want to say everything's okay and stuff. It's very rare that when you catch up with your mates and the first thing you talk about is an emotional situation because you're always going to say, "How you going? Good. I'm fine. I'm fine." Everyone's saying they're fine. We're and that's changing as we kind of evolving as well. We're sort of as men, we can realize we can talk about things. And I think but sometimes it can take a lot longer too. So to get to that point, you could be going through something bad, and it's hard. You don't want to bring it up, and so yeah, I mean, having a film is a great sort of even playing field that you can maybe, you come, hey, let's go watch this film, and you don't know if you know someone who's struggling with something, feelings that they're feeling hopeless and they're struggling with suicide, or whatever, you take them to see the film, and it could help just open up the discussion. And sometimes, because that emotion kind of does come to the surface whilst you watch this film, it's quite an emotional film, so that can maybe help. Have at the end of it, you go and get a coffee or whatever, and you can talk about it. So, but that's what I feel. Yeah, the
Yeah.
importance of this film is, and why we're sort of doing it, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to wear the actual pack and carry 363 names of
Mm.
veterans who committed suicide. How did you feel putting that on for the first time?
Yeah, it was very sobering. I mean, we actually had the name tapes and the pack. Uh, George gave it to me when we first met before we started filming. So it was so coming home the first day with those name tapes it was pretty heavy, and then we laid them out. We wanted to just see them, not just even in a cluster of names, but to see how many names it was. And you felt that I felt the weight. I still do, and it's a very heavy thing to carry. And then so the combination of that with the pack, and once we started going, it was yeah. As I said, it was it was so, I know easy is not the right word, but it was the performance and everything just kind of flowed from that, because I was where we were. George was there, the pack was there, everything was there. So those name tapes was always on my side, and yeah, it's a very sobering, and it's kind of sad. It's just really sad too. It's just a really sad feeling. And sometimes you kind of forget and you get caught up with making a film, and then you remember. It's like, oh, wait a minute, these are all names, these are all real people. So it just keeps bringing. It really kind of grounds you and makes you realize, because filmmaking has a whole lot of other aspects to it that kind of detach you from why you're even making a film, because you're dealing with travel and crew and equipment and cameras and money and this, that, and the other, and you get sort of disconnected from the process a lot of times. It becomes more business and administration. So, but those name tapes and that pack really, really, that physical weight of that really did, yeah, really connect. So yeah, it was very sobering, very humbling, and just very sad feeling.
Definitely. And you wore a lot of hats in this project. You were producer, director, actor. How do you compartmentalize your mind in order to do so many tasks at once and create such an amazing project like you did?
Yeah, I mean, I co-directed it, which helped. So Kenny Bryant was also who was a Marine, and actually was in the same war that George was in, and they didn't realize that until they met, and so that was a beautiful thing. So it was nice to have Kenny on my side. We sort of took turns, and at the beginning, I kind of spearheaded the sort of directing a lot more, and then sort of halfway through, I think it was just quite draining on me, and then he sort of picked up the slack, and then so we kind of almost unintentionally, but I sort of took the predominant half of it in the first half, and he took the second half, especially when it got more and more emotional towards the end. So it was great having him by my side. That really certainly helped. So and again too, having a veteran who was right there, making sure everything was right, because we want to make sure we get all the details and the uniforms or whatever else we're dealing with and the terminology correct. So that certainly helped. The producing side is quite difficult. There's a lot of logistics involved, and yeah, the compartmentalization is something I've sort of done a few times, but it's never easy. And I think it was quite draining, because there was so many logistics on how to get to where we were going, because we wanted to be on the trail, and there's only certain points you can enter to the trail with vehicles, and then we had to hike a little bit, but because we're in a crew and gear, we can't really hike a proper hike. So it has to be, so all those logistics, which George was amazing helping us with that, and then we had a whole lot of other people who came on board who are through hikers helping. Yeah, but I think the first day we're doing location scouts, and the day before the first day we are doing location scouting and stuff, and then on day one I was already pretty drained from everything leading up to that. So yeah, it was exhausting. We had a very small crew, so that kind of helps in a way for some people. Um, like with the DP and stuff was probably not so good because he was limited. He didn't have enough people to help him. But so there's pros and cons to that. You have a smaller footprint. You can move in and out. You don't have like 50,000 people that you've got to sort out. But yeah, it's not easy, and yeah, it's difficult, and it's hard because you're dealing with all these emotions, but also then there's these real, I guess, real film world problems that you have to deal with. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how one does it. I think it's just you just have to do it, and yeah, grin and bear it. But
Yeah,
it's not easy.
and since you also helped produce this film, what kind of obstacles did you run across? Because this isn't your typical PTSD film or mental health film. It's very deep, it's very impactful, and it's very real. How do you sell a project like that and get funding for it?
Yeah, it was quite challenging actually. I originally thought, oh well, everyone would want to throw us money to support such a powerful cause, but as a lot of times in filmmaking, you're always shocked at certain situations that don't go the way you want. So, and this one, it was kind of weird. It was like we started, we reached out to a lot of people, and we just got a lot of people not interested, which is kind of really sad. And then we did a kind of a crowdfunding thing, and we raised a very small amount on that, and it was pretty disheartening. And so, you know, filmmaking is always a lot of steps of being disheartened and disappointed, and you just got to keep going. So, and then yeah, we would just it was kind of shocking, and then eventually. An investor who had worked with me on other projects before, Dan Hegel, he came on board, and we were probably a couple of weeks out from production, and maybe 2, 3 weeks out, and I really felt just to keep moving forward because I felt like we had to just tell the story, and I was like, I thought we can't keep postponing it. I mean, the longer we postpone it, the less we can do to help people. It's kind of like we don't know if this film's going to save a life, and if it does, then we're going to get on and get it done. So we just kind of had an attitude, and it helps when you're working with a lot of military guys because it's the attitude is like, let's just go and try and push through and do it. And then about 2 weeks out, we got the funding, and it was great because we got more than I initially thought we needed, so that sort of helped. And we had a few other people come on board and a bit generous, and then we had a lot of people helping out. So our budget wasn't huge; it was very small, but so we had a lot of people working for free. Um, but we still had to pay the core crew and cast and stuff. But yeah, so that was a real challenge. And then now we're in the process of trying to release it, and promote it, and stuff like that. We do have we're still working on a theatrical run, and because we really feel like there's a real power in the community of a theater experience for something like this. So we're really wanting to push that. Again, it's difficult because the theaters just want to play some big blockbusting thing like the Mad Max movie or whatever we're up against, and it's like it's hard when you want to do something like this that it's the theaters are sort of like, well, maybe we won't. So we're pushing it. It's still an uphill battle. We have some screenings, some special premiere screenings on some Cinemark theaters, which we're going to post on our website. So we do a premiere and then we do like a live stream of that. And then so we're getting a few little theaters coming through, and we'll probably get more. But it is an uphill battle because we don't have big stars in it, and yeah, and we're trying to do something that's not $100 million action film. So, so yeah, so it's just an uphill battle, but you just got to keep pushing it, and you got to get that traction. And I think it's important to get as many people to see it to understand what it is, because on the outside, it's hard to sort of know exactly what it is until you actually go through the process of watching it. So, but yes, it's not easy. It's not easy when this day and age where everyone wants well, not so much everyone wants to see. I don't think that's correct. I think people want to see different stuff, but they're not giving choices. The theaters are just only playing 3 films, and it's a big this $50 million one, this $100 million one, and that's it. And then So as an audience, we don't really have a choice. So we're trying to get back in there and try to sort of give some alternatives and say, hey, look, we don't all need to be watching these films all the time. We're all getting a bit tired of them. How about try and watch something which has some meaning to it? So, but that's an uphill battle.
Yeah, definitely. Well, more than a congratulations. Thank you very much for this film. It is extremely impactful. It's very emotional. It is something that I think you're right. Like an audience needs to see this to understand what our brave men and women who go off to the military go through once they get back. And
Mm.
thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you.